I'd like to call to order the Iredell County Board of Commissioners 6 o'clock regular meeting for Tuesday, March the 17th, 2026. At this time, I would like to ask Commissioner Brown to give the invocation for the Board of Commissioners as we seek guidance and wisdom in the work we are about to do for the citizens of Iredell County.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we ask you once again to just take us under your roof, Lord, to give us the guidance we need, to show us the things that we need to do for this county. Lord, we ask you to be with each and every one of these people that came here tonight, Lord. Let us all come together and get an understanding, be able to do the work for this county, Lord, and for this great state we live in. Lord, we ask you to continue to bless each and every one of us. Help us to go home safely tonight, and please be with us. For us in Christ's name and sake we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Houp to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
County Manager, do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No, sir. No adjustments.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve?
Motion by Commissioner Stroud. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. And I'm going to turn it over now to the Vice Chair. We do have a special presentation, special recognition, so I'll turn it over to you and you can kick that off.
I'll be glad to. Good afternoon, good evening. I have the great pleasure this evening. I would like to ask, we have Miss Amber Potts, Miss Statesville, please come up to the podium. And also Isabella, and you're going to have to help me with your last name. I always mess up. DiFiore. Okay, very good. Will you please join her at the podium as well? We're recognizing Miss Statesville and Miss Statesville team. Now, I will ask if either of you ladies have any prepared remarks you want to share this evening, or would you just like to tell us a little bit about what your journey has been like and what it means to be Miss Statesville team? Because I know your schedule has been busy.
Yes, it most certainly has been busy. So I have prepared a speech. I prepared two. I didn't know how much time they would give us, so I will do a short one. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amber Potts, and I'm honored to serve as Miss Statesville. I'm a licensed cosmetologist and a proud advocate of skilled trades through my community service initiative, The Power of Skilled Hands. My initiative focuses on raising awareness about career and technical education and to include opportunities available through skilled trades. So many students have talents that shine through hand-on learning, whether that's in cosmetology, welding, construction, automotive, technology, or other technical careers. These fields not only provide meaningful work, but they also offer sustainable and rewarding career paths that are essential to success in our community. Through Power of Skilled Hands, I work to connect with students, schools, and community leaders to highlight the importance of CTE programs and encourage young people to explore that many pathways available for them after graduation. And I'm incredibly grateful for this opportunity to share this message and to support the amazing work done through Iredell County Schools and the program like CATS that prepares students for real-world experiences in their future. Thank you for your time and your continuing support to educate the workforce development in our community. And I also brought, I have a bachelor's degree in business analytics, and if no one knows what business analytics is, it's coding. And so I graduated from UNC Charlotte in that after I went to cosmetology school, and I used my skills that I gained as my bachelor's degree, and I came up with my activity book. And so each page in my activity book that I take to each student that I visit in elementary schools at Iredell County, I was able to code each page that I wanted to have like the opportunity to teach them about different technical trades and the different skills that they can gain and what schools they have. So this is something that's very important to me. It took a lot of time and effort and error and trial and aggravation, but I'm so glad that it finally came to life. And my busy schedule is I work full time and I do this for fun. I love to go out to the community and be able to, support something that has been my whole world since I was little. I was Miss Statesville's teen, and I knew that I wanted the opportunity to be Miss Statesville, to serve my community that has shaped me into the woman I am today. Thank you.
That was a really good speech, Amber. You're welcome. I did not prepare a speech because I just tend to wing things half the time. But it typically ends up being okay. So my name is Isabella DiFiore. I am the Statesville's Teen 2026, and my community service initiative is Bella's Backpacks. I partner with various child advocacy centers across the state of North Carolina to support children who come from abusive and neglected households. And then through that, with my backpacks, it's kind of to provide hope and comfort to the children in those types of situations. I brought a little flyer with me today because I have my annual Bella's Heart Ball. This year is the 3rd annual, and it's to raise money for not only my nonprofit, but also to raise money for the American Heart Association, which is in alliance with the Miss America Opportunity, which is the program that both me and Amber are a part of. It's a very important organization because it raises money and funds and research for women's heart health, which is the #1 killer of women in the U.S. today, which is why it's so important to me because I have friends and family who have gone through those types of situations with either their relatives or with their family as friends as well. Oh, yes. It also does give back to our scholarship program the money that we raise because the American Heart Association is in alliance with the Miss America Opportunity. I'm sorry, guys. I danced before I came here, so my brain's a little everywhere. But I brought flyers for anyone who wants them. I guess I could just give them to y'all, and y'all can hand them out as you would like. But as far as my schedule goes, I do dance 16 hours a week, and I'm actually going to go to dance right after this. And I am a full-time student at North Iredell High School, Statesville High School, and Mitchell Community College. I do the Dance Magnet program at Statesville High School, and then I do Mitchell Community College classes through my high school. I take American History, Statistics, English 111, English 112, and Introduction to Jazz, because I'm also a singer, and I love music. One thing that I put in my bags is a little coloring book and a journal, because the arts is very expressive. It helps people to find their voice if they can't verbally express what they're feeling or what they're passionate about. The arts is very important to convey that to other people, either through dance or through art or through journaling or through poems, whatever that may be. So that's why I add those into my bags, to help the children express what they've gone through or how they're feeling about their situation, because it can be very stressful to talk about the situation that they went through. And I have many friends who have been a part of those child advocacy centers and that have been through those situations with family members or with friends, which is also why it's very important to me. Yeah, thank you guys so much for your time.
Well, it's obvious that you both have a heart and passion for children and wanting the best for them, and that truly is where a lot of our hope lies, as the next generation. So we have other board comments? Anyone else want to say?
I want to congratulate you. I've known Isabel and her family for quite some time, and her superstar grandmother. And but thank you for what you do. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for helping the other kids, exposing them to opportunities that they may not be aware of. So keep up the good work.
You know, to someone as talented and beautiful, to talk about continuing ed type classes, the non-traditional path. Someone from that's gone and got a bachelor's degree to really promote the CTE. That's
actually, when I went to cosmetology school, I worked the whole time while I went and got my bachelor's degree, and so by doing that pathway, I got to graduate debt free and not have I set to my mind, I was like, if I'm going to get a four-year university degree, I am not having debt when I graduate. And so I made that goal achievable for sure. It's doing it with a non-traditional pathway.
To see you promote that and hear you promote, I think that's huge. And, Isabella, I've actually seen firsthand, your Bella's backpacks. And I joked with your grandmother in the hallway. She's either half credit or half blamed for one of us in here.
That's it.
So, thank y'all.
Oh, I appreciate what y'all doing. Keep up the good work.
And on behalf of our North County Board of Commissioners, we would like to recognize you with the Board of, here we go. Each one of you get the certificate of recognition, and they get a county pin. So there you go. And I'm not going to pin you this evening, but however, you can pin each other here shortly. But congratulations. And if you'll stand in front of us, did we want to take a photo?
Yes, please. Yes.
You gentlemen want to come up here? Yeah. Recognize.
All over.
Miss Statesville. Congratulations so much. Thank you. You continued your efforts. Y'all have been such a light in the public life. Everything that you do.
Barbara, how bad of a student was he?
We go way back, don't we? We go way back.
You're the first person that's ever said that.
Would you like to wrap it up for us? I'd be glad to.
Be nice, Scott.
Perfect.
I know
Good
things
evening,
on you.
everyone. My name is Tennille Kilby-Sherrill, and I have the honor and privilege of being the local director for the Miss Statesville Scholarship Organization and Program. And so I just wanted to wrap this up with letting you all know that both Amber and Isabella spoke about being part of the Miss America opportunity. And so we are currently in fast and furious preparation for both of them to compete the 24th through the 27th of June. Amber will be competing for the title of Miss North Carolina, and Isabella will be competing for the title of Miss North Carolina's teen. So continue to keep us in your thoughts and prayers and good vibes and all the things that you have as we continue preparation to compete on the state level. And if selected, they would go on to compete at Miss America and Miss America's teen in September. So we appreciate the opportunity to recognize these young ladies for the amazing work they're doing in our community.
And we
Thank
have
you.
the utmost confidence as you represent us at a state level. So thank you. Chairman Conley, it's back to you.
Back. Okay, we do not have an appointment for the board, but we do have a public hearing tonight in regards to planning and development to conduct a public hearing regarding the text amendment to the Land Development Code concerning short-term rentals.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request to be recused from this agenda item as it participates related to it. My request is based on potential conflict of interest and financial benefit depending on the outcome.
Do we have a motion to recuse Commissioner Brown from participating and vote on this matter?
On his request, the Chair, I'd like to ask for a motion to recuse Commissioner Brown from any participation in voting on this item, please.
Motion by Commissioner Halp. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You are recused, sir. And I'll turn it over to the county manager. That way you can kick this one off.
I'm actually going to just introduce Matthew Todd and let him walk us through the text amendment for this item.
Good evening. This text amendment, as mentioned, does deal with the short-term rentals. And just to kind of recap how we got to where we are today, it's been a long process. I think back in 2022, we really started digging into it more as far as what type of regulations could be put in place, what direction we should go with it. Kind of the fall of 23, I believe the board then voted on a set of amendments to put in the code to address short-term rentals specifically with an effective date, January 1st of '24. And I would let Ms. Valdez at any time jump in. Of course, there was litigation filed against the county with the short-term rental, with the stay on that enforcement. And now we're trying to address a few of those items within that litigation to see kind of if we can get over that hurdle to where we can start enforcing what was adopted. So it's really minimal changes. The biggest one is the act of getting a permit for a short-term rental. We've removed that requirement, but the requirements themselves stay in place. So it's not too unusual. There's other things in the code that we regulate that don't require a permit. So that's not that different from some of the other uses in the ordinance. Part of that had to do with, I guess, within the litigation, the Wilmington case dealing with short-term rentals and the registry aspect and the argument of is a zoning permit a registry or not. This just helps us kind of put that to the side and move forward with enforcing a set of regulations that were put in place. We didn't really change anything with the occupancy. That was a long, drawn-out discussion back in '23. That stayed in. We just put some clarification in there. If there's a municipal sewer system, we defined the event center, so we tried to further clarify, offer clarification on an event center, because I think there was a lot of concern of the short-term rentals having events on site. So again, a lot of clarification there. Of course, the effective date, as I mentioned earlier, that was removed. It's not relevant at this point. The definitions, there were, back in '23, we adopted some changes to the enforcement mechanism. And if you remember, enforcement for one zoning violation has to be the same for all zoning violations. The example was an accessory building that's a foot off the line, property line. We've got to treat that the same. So there was a lot of talk previously about having higher fees for enforcement of these. But we made changes to offer, to try to give us some more leverage when it comes to zoning violation to get someone's attention without penalizing those other zoning violations that are common throughout our daily job. So nothing there really changed. Again, just a little clarification. And that really covers adding more to the definition of short-term rental. But that really covers the changes. Planning Board did review this text amendment and voted to recommend approval of it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know there's some folks here that I think want to speak, so I can answer questions now or later if needed.
Any questions for Matthew Todd? Okay. Well, we'll get this show on the road. I'd like to open the public hearing in regards to the text amendment to the Land Development Code concerning short-term rentals. On our sign-up sheet, we have our first person to speak is Mike Joey. If you can, when you come up, just state your name and your full address, please.
Good evening. My name is Mike Joy. I live at 315 Whippoorwill Road, Mooresville. For the past 25 years, my wife and I resided in Hidden Cove on Lake Norman. While I do not oppose short-term rentals, STRs, I believe that consistent regulations and robust enforcement are essential, as the number of such properties have now exceeded 800 units around the lake. To begin, I'd like to reference Section 3.1 R68H events from the Iredell County Planning and Development proposed text amendment. This section appears inconsistent and ambiguous. The original intent was to prohibit STRs from hosting events. However, the current language specifies that STRs cannot be advertised or used as an event center. In my interpretation, this suggests that events may occur so long as the property is not explicitly advertised as an event venue, which blurs the distinction between event centers classified as businesses or residential properties. In late 2023, a proposal introducing regulations for STRs, including zoning, occupancy limits, and prohibitions on events, was approved by the commissioners and was to become effective as of January 4th, 2024. However, these regulations remain upheld amid ongoing litigation. Meanwhile, full-time residents like me are required to adhere to zoning, septic, and various other regulations, creating an inequitable situation. While certain STR neighbors do comply with existing rules, others seem to operate under the assumption that property ownership provides exemption from consequences. Some construct decks and docks without permits, while others host large groups or organize events despite restrictions. It appears that large gatherings are central to our concerns, as they often lead to issues related to noise, parking, congestion, and safety compliance. In 2016, I was required to obtain a new septic permit during a property rebuild. Although I previously had a 4-bedroom permit, changes in regulations reduced me to a 3-bedroom permit, resulting in approximately a $10,000 additional cost. Similarly, although I requested a 10 by 16 foot deck, our application was limited to an 8 by 16 due to septic field constraints, despite the large size of our yard. These types of regulations and enforcement are not consistently applied for STRs. I strongly believe that thorough implementation and diligent enforcement of STR regulations would address many of these concerns. I respectfully urge that rental property owners be held to the same standards as permanent residents to ensure fairness, protect property values, and preserve the health and character of Lake Norman. As someone aptly stated, in 2023, we have one lake and we must take care of it before it's too late. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. It's section 3.1 R68H events. Thank you.
Next person signed up is Jean Engelke.
My name is Jean Engelke, and I live at 117 Wood Duck Loop. I am the president of the Regency Lake Village Lakeside Farms Dam and Maintenance Association, an HOA. I'm here today to commend the board for passing the short-term regulations in 2023. The residents of the county, thank you. Short-term rentals have had a big impact on neighborhood, communities, and HOAs as they open up new problems that previously did not exist. The county zoning board had not prepared for this influx of homeowners using their properties for something other than what is designated in the zoning regulation, which is single-family homes. The main problem that you've heard includes excessive noise, traffic, vandalism, and trash. Increasingly, owners of these properties have no stake in the neighborhood, nor do they live anywhere near the property to monitor its health and safety, and/or are corporations with no ties to the state. The problems mentioned earlier, according to SB 291, throw the onus back to the individual cities to address. This means the state recognizes them as problems. The bill also states that short-term rentals should also abide by no more regulations than allowed for hotels, motels, and inns. These are commercial entities that are not allowed in residential neighborhoods. Unfortunately, there's a group of STR owners that have challenged your oversight in court. The revised regulations specifically eliminate the permit requirement for zoning purposes. There's a reason we have zoning regulations. I live in an area that is zoned residential. There's a property next to mine that is brick and mortar, advertises services, welcomes customers, generates income, and operates as a business. When I purchased my home, I had faith that the zoning guidelines would be followed, and never did I ever imagine I would be living next to a business. It should go without saying that residential property is just that, for residential use. It is, and a short-term rental is commercial use. It's the owner's business. They have employees, they generate taxable income, and they are doing this under the guise of free use of property. The unaddressed problems are a drain on county resources. The fact that these businesses do not have to pay occupancy tax is absurd. Isn't that exactly what they're doing, providing occupancy? This is a missed opportunity for the county. Senate Bill 154 states that any proceeds from said tax would need to be spent on promoting travel and tourism-related expenditures. Shouldn't they help fund any expenditures such as updating infrastructure and enhancing residents' protection with services such as additional police, fire, and EMS, services that are called upon to protect residents and tourists? When reviewing the text amendments, I'm wondering who would know if the maximum occupancy has been exceeded, septic capacity, or if street parking is being abused. In the amendment, it states when the administrator or his agent finds a violation. Who are they? Will they be policing the properties for violations? Or is the county asking the neighbors of these properties to actively police and report them? If there is no zoning planning for these properties, how will the regulations you have thoughtfully outlined be enforced? Further in the amendment, it states there must be a contact available 24/7, a sign prominently displayed outside the building. Really? Now you're going to further downgrade the aesthetics of the neighborhood by adding visible signage. And in the following section, it states, no signage is permissible that advertises the property of an STR. Isn't that what the contact sign is? I'm not advertising my contact information in front of my house. The fact that this lawsuit's main goal is eliminating the documentation of the property's use in zoning areas that were not intended for the purpose should be a red flag to everyone. They do not want you to know who they are and fly under the radar of paying NC occupancy tax. They also don't want to have a paper trail to document property improvements, incur property tax increases, and other county requirements that every other resident and business entity must follow. Their objectives seem to be trying to skirt the law in order to generate income for their commercial business by hiding it under residential zoning and eliminating barriers of entry. The lawsuit is an action to undermine the legal and ethical actions of our elected county officials acting in the best interest of the constituents. The regulations are the first step. Thank you. The second is enforcing the zoning requirements. And if that means revising them to reflect current market dynamics, I urge you to begin immediately. If nothing is done, the problems will get worse. Thank you for your time.
Jack Binion.
My name is Jack Benyon. I live at 263 Beaten Path Road in Mooresville. And happy St. Patrick's Day. I would like to start off with some words: regulation and enforcement. These were the two words often referred to by Matthew and his staff at our first official meeting in 2022 about our short-term rental issues. There were no regulations in place, and if there were, how could we enforce them? Note, at this meeting, we were one community with 13 STRs or short-term rentals on our 3-mile street. Needless to say, both of these have grown dramatically since 2022. Some more words: Berlin, Paris, London, New York City, Las Vegas, Honolulu, Asheville, Raleigh, Lake Lure, Charlotte. These are all major cities that either have banned or put on strict restriction or regulations, there's that word again, on short-term rentals. At this point, I'd ask the people in my group who are here on this tonight to just stand for a moment. Homeowners, taxpayers, traditional bed and breakfast owners, realtors, first responders, health, sanitation, and safety workers are all part of our group that is either now standing or have been standing in front of you since 2022. Thank you. Party houses. At this point, I was going to play Animal House, but I think we're past that. Not all STRs are party houses, but these are the reasons that most of us have been standing in front of you for the last 4+ years. Even Airbnb and VRBO have banned parties/events since August of 2020 through their Stay Neighborly programs. Weapons, drugs, threats to property, threats to do bodily harm to owners and their family. Again, why have we been standing here for 4+ years? Let's deal with some numbers now. In 1991, North Carolina,
Department of Health, passed 15 AN CAC 18A.2500, the rules governing public swimming pools. I live in an HOA, and at one time, we sold summer passes to neighbors to use our pool facility, until we found out that if we continued to do so, we would have to make massive dollar ADA improvements. Once we opened the pool outside the HOA, it was considered a public pool, violating both federal and Iredell health regulations. Yep, there's that word again. Aren't the STRs, by opening their pools to renters, violating those same regulations? In 2017, 15A NCAC 18A.1800, NCA Department of Health passes rules governing the sanitation of lodging establishments. In 2023, at one of our meetings, we were told that there were 700 short-term rentals in Iredell County, with 360 in Mooresville. At that time, we disagreed with those numbers, showing that through local ads, there were closer to 1,400 STRs in Iredell County at the time. In 2023, there were between 61,000 and 62,000 actual home-owned units. At 1,400 short-term rentals using the 61,000 number, that would be 0.02% of the homes owned in Iredell County. Using the 700 short-term rental number the county presented at that time, that would be 0.01%. And to be honest, I don't know what the smaller percentage of party houses would be. But to even let 0.02% ruin the rest of the taxpayers who abide by these regulations seems to be unacceptable. I can go on, but I think 2023 is an important year to remember would be the GS 153A155G, got to catch my breath, was passed by the lawmakers in Raleigh so that not just Iredell County, but 66 other communities and municipalities could use their zoning regulations to address the short-term rental issues that they were all facing. We feel that to eliminate important things like the zoning administrator may deny or revoke a zoning permit, the property owner submits incomplete or inaccurate information, the property owner has previously incurred 2 or more zoning violations, etc. If other homeowners need to apply for permits and inspections to add or make major changes or construction to their homes, then why should the short-term rental owner not be subjected to those same regulations?
It's time.
Thank you.
Mark? Mike, Mark Moore's? Okay, got you.
My name is Mark Mosley. I live at 122 Broadwood Drive, Lake Norman. On August 22 of 2022, my daughter woke me up at about 2 o'clock in the morning, said there was a bus in front of our house. As I walked out, there was a bus in front of my house. There was cars parked in my driveway. There was cars pulled in my front yard. The driveway was completely closed up. We had cars parked on both sides of the driveway. The police immediately, when I walked out, the 3 deputies that were there asked me who I was, and I told them I lived there, would like to have the cars removed, or I was going to remove the cars, the way I said it. And they threatened to arrest me. I've lived there for 20 years. Me and my wife worked all of our life to buy this house on the lake. Before it was over with, they found one of the guys had an AR-15 loaded with 121 rounds in it in his back seat. What he was going to do with it, we don't know. But my house is right beside it. My family lives there. We got threatened. Me and my daughter ended up getting threatened. We were told that they would shoot us. One of the girls said that she had a gun and she wasn't scared to use it. So I was fearful that my daughter would get hurt, so we went back to the house. But the next morning, it took till 1 o'clock next day to get everybody out. And the last guy that left was the guy that had the AR-15. As he rode by my house, he told me that he'd be back to get me and my family. I don't know about y'all, but that threatens me. And I shouldn't have to put up with that. I live in Iredell County. We're not a county like that. And if they can't stop it, or somebody needs to stop it, I should say, I don't know how to stop it. Even the rental companies try their best, but they can't control it. You know, they've tried to, they gave him a security system. Well, that's fine. If they don't give this guy a chance, he can still come back and get us. So I just ask that y'all do something to try to stop this or put regulations where it can't happen again. It's always, I have to lock my camper up, I have to lock my cars up, I have to lock my garage doors or close them. I didn't spend all that, I don't spend that much money to live on the lake to have to live that way. I feel like I'm in a prison. And I don't think it's right for the citizens to live in Iredell County. Thank you for your time.
Mark, for the record, what was your street? I got the 120.
122 Bridlewood Drive, Mooresville.
Thank you. Bill Graham?
Good evening. My name is Bill Graham. I live at 157 Lakeshore Drive in Mooresville. I want to be clear, I'm not opposed to responsible short-term rentals. The problem is large-scale party rentals operating as unregulated commercial lodging businesses inside residential neighborhoods. We have one in our neighborhood. This home sold in 2022 as a 3-bedroom residence with a 1-bedroom garage apartment. It now advertises as 11 bedrooms, sleeping up to 30 guests, with parking for 16 vehicles, with extensive party-style amenities, including a pool, hot tub, mini golf, jungle gym, outdoor bowling, as well as pickleball, basketball, and volleyball courts in the front yard, all designed for large groups. We've experienced vandalism, trespassing, loud parties, and safety concerns. The elderly couple living next door to that short-term rental had to sell their home because they could no longer tolerate the disruption. Neighbors should not have to endure, nor police, someone else's business while their neighborhood is treated as a profit center by operators who bear none of the consequences. This is not just unjust, it creates serious infrastructure and safety concerns. A property designed for a handful of occupants is now continually marketed to dozens of transient guests all year long. That raises obvious concerns about septic capacity, fire safety, traffic, parking, and emergency response. These operators seek commercial level income without the responsibilities or regulations that come with it. That particular property that I mentioned charges up to $5,000 to $6,000 a night. That's a commercial business. That's not a residential, somebody trying to make a little bit extra on their property. Unlike hotels or motels, there's no on-site management when something goes wrong. A motel would not operate in our neighborhood, or could not operate, because it would be prohibited by zoning and subject to strict standards. Yet these short-term rental investors are effectively running a commercial lodging operation inside a residential zone without those same requirements. The claim that short-term rentals increase property values is incomplete. High occupancy party rentals tend to reduce the desirability for traditional buyers and families seeking stable communities. Would you want to raise your family next to a high occupancy party house? They tend to negatively affect property values. Neighborhoods are built by residents, not by short-term guests. Short-term rentals were intended to help homeowners earn a little supplemental income, not to serve as a loophole for commercial operations in residential zones. We've entrusted you, our elected leaders, to protect us from this kind of overreach and to preserve the quality of life these rules were meant to ensure. It is we, your constituents, not the absentee investors, who need your help. We respectfully asked for clear rules, consistent oversight, and enforceable limits to prevent large-scale party rentals from operating unchecked in residential neighborhoods. Responsible short-term rentals can coexist in residential neighborhoods, but commercial-scale party houses have no place here. Thank you for your time and for your continued service to us residents of Iredell County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Maureen Longo? She's not here. Frank Johnson?
I'm Frank Johnson. My address is 131 Supreme Court, Statesville. You guys know I ran for commissioner in 2022. I had two primary questions during that time. One of them was, well, how did I stand on the short-term rentals? The second one was about Josh's seafood market. I think that one's been resolved almost. But the short-term rental thing is struck home. I didn't know much about them, and I have one in my neighborhood, and they haven't been that bad. But after I was made aware of this by this group, I come to find out that the guy's got building permits for 3 bedrooms. He's advertised as 9 bedrooms. He's got occupancy where we can hold up as many as 30 people. My street is a 10-foot wide street. They block access to our traffic. We've had mail stolen. We've had lots of these things they're talking about. And these folks spoke to this subject very, very well and eloquently. I think you've heard enough, and I just want to let you know that I stand behind what this group has to say, and I hope we can do something about it.
Thank you, sir. That's all that's signed up. Anyone here would like to speak on this matter? Hearing none and seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask, do we have a motion or any discussion?
I'd like to see if we could table this and ask our staff and lawyer to look back over all of these comments and requests. They're consistent with what our goals have been all along. And most of these people, as they said, are reasonable people and would be okay with responsible short-term rentals. We have to figure out a way to protect our citizens that pay taxes here from being abused on their property in some cases or in their neighborhoods. And I know everyone agrees with that. But the misconceptions I think people have had to some degree, we've had these conversations in my meetings at the NCACC as well. We are going to have some type of state legislation that gives us on the local level the ability to police and regulate our own ordinances. Some of the legislators keep telling people that we can pass ordinances that are enforceable. And as you saw, as soon as we tried to do that, we were challenged and tied up in court. These people can't continue to wait for years for some type of consistent, fair regulation. That's all they want. And we've got to advocate for whatever we think the legislation needs to be and the fair and consistent ordinances that they're asking for. So if y'all are okay with that, all of these are pretty consistent, but I would just really like our staff and lawyers to look back over the comments and try and see, are there ways we can better protect them? Are there ways that we can make the rules clear, consistent? And can we require the rental companies legally to help pay for infrastructure or provide security, some type of management on call that'll come out and deal with these situations so our neighbors and or the sheriff's office could deal with it with enforceable ordinances and or law. And we just have to look at it hard, but we've got to start somewhere, and that's where our goal was originally when all of these ladies and gentlemen came. We have to start somewhere. We're going to have to tweak it. But let's review these things and see if there's anything else we need to adjust before we approve the changes to this ordinance and try and figure out a way to get out of court and start helping these ladies and gentlemen that are our constituents. It's unfair. As I've stated for years, when these ladies and gentlemen started coming, if most of these short-term rental companies would enforce their own rules that they say they have in place, a lot of these people wouldn't be here. And that's part of the problem. They say they do, but that's bogus. We don't. But I'm singing to the choir, but thank you all. I know you're frustrated. We hear you. We're trying to do what we can do, not trying to pass the buck to our state legislators, but they're going to have to help us too. We've got to have something with teeth in it legislatively to help us regulate and enforce it here, enforceability of it. And a lot of that legislation needs to be tied to being able to hold accountable the owners and property managers that set these parties up and to do these things. If we could do that and have some teeth in the regulation, a lot of these problems would fix themselves. But right now, in my opinion, the income piece of it is making these people turn a blind eye to the problems. If they had to live there like you do, they'd want the problems fixed, right? So we've got to figure that out. But thank you all for coming, staying consistent. I know you're very frustrated, but the unfair part for us, the challenging part for us, is we can only do what we can do. But we're trying. We're going to try to start somewhere and hopefully move on with, get the lawsuit done and start some enforcement, tweak it where we can, advocate for legislation that helps us. But sorry you're having to live through that. We have one of the best counties in the state or the country, but we've got to protect our people to keep it that way.
We've actually moved forward, and because of the litigation, it's limited what we can do. And I think each of us here and understand your frustration. One of the things that the lady mentioned was the signage, and I think because of some of the limitations based upon other decisions that have been made where other municipalities have done different things, and the law has been very explicit about registries, I believe. So the signage came up because in the middle of the night, if a deputy would respond, we've got to be able to figure out a way to contact. So I kind of got your point, but we had to come up with some way, because in the middle of the night, the deputy's not going to have a way to contact through our taxes records to figure out who to contact. And so that was the intent there. And so not trying to burden or lessen, but trying to give something at least where we had a method to contact someone that could take some type of action. So, it's kind of that darned if you do, darned if you don't sometimes. And that's, I think, where we all kind of feel right now. That no matter what we do, someone's going to try to figure out a different way to spin it and to be pro something else. And so I think what we're trying to do is trying to be as specific as we can without being challenged on specific issues. And I think that's, if I were sitting in your shoes, I would be frustrated with that part. Because I will tell you, I hear you. I hear you clearly.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to continue till Tuesday, April the 7th, 2026, 6 p.m. here. All in, motion by Commissioner.
Is that the motion? Yes. Do you need it to be the first or second meeting to give you time?
I'm fine with either.
Okay.
The first meeting is fine.
Okay, so Gene, you're okay with that motion to continue to our next meeting on Tuesday, April the 7th, 2026, 6 p.m. here?
Yes, and I'd like to ask the citizens to make sure John gets copies or emails with their specific things, and let us take another look at it. I'd like to, as Beth says, let's, cut once and measure 5 times before we cut.
Plus, we took notes and stuff
Yeah, we
too,
did.
so we can go back and see. So motion by Commissioner Halp, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? passes, and it will continue. We'll pick it back up on April the 7th, 2026, 6 p.m. here. So with that said, let's take a 10-minute recess if we can, please. Let's take a 10-minute recess. administrative matters that we covered at our 4 o'clock pre-agenda meeting, and I'll turn it over to the manager to go over those.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Conley. As Chair Conley said, we reviewed several items, primarily administrative items, at the 4 o'clock meeting, and the board agreed to place these on the consent agenda. We had a request from administration to approve the lighting agreement with Energy United for the Jennings Park Overflow Project, and to give the county manager the authority to sign that agreement. There was a request from the Health Department for approval of Budget Amendment Number 29 to purchase member care kits for the care management for at-risk children and care management for high-risk pregnancies programs. This is receiving a grant in the amount of $3,000 for these kits. A request from the Department of Social Services for approval to fill 14 critical vacancies within the Medicaid and Food Nutrition Services units, including supervisors, trainers, and eligibility workers, to address increased workload demands and meet complex new federal compliance requirements. And the board agreed by consent to fill those 14 positions, and we'll also be creating some talking points to provide feedback to our legislators. A request from Veteran Services for approval of Budget Amendment Number 30 and to accept the NCDMVA grants in the amount of $20,000. A request from Veteran Services for approval of Budget Amendment Number 31 and to accept the Walmart Spark Good grant in the amount of $1,250. A request from the Purchasing Division for approval of a resolution authorizing sale of personal property by public auction, and this equates to about 30 vehicles that have been marked for surplus, and since the proceeds of the sale we anticipate to be over $30,000, there is a requirement for the board to adopt the resolution. A request from Finance for approval of Budget Amendment Number 32 and to amend the Solid Waste Capital Project Fund to include the Chief Thomas Road Convenience Site Project, and that is in the amount of $2,831,800. That's already in that solid waste fund, and it's moving it over to the project fund. A request from Finance for approval of Budget Amendment Number 33 and to amend the Facilities Improvement Fund for the Government Center South Renovation Project. This is moving funds from the Capital Improvement Plan to the Facility Improvement Plan to start the abatement work and begin renovation work at Government Center South. The amount of that one is $2,174,176. A request from Tax Administration for approval of the February 2026 releases and refunds. A request from Administration to amend the Economic Development Incentive Agreement for Project Raven. This amendment includes extending the improvement timeline to December 31st of 2027. A request from Administration to approve the minutes from the meeting on January the 16th, 2026, which is our winter retreat. And finally, to approve the minutes from the Board of Commissioner meeting from March the 3rd, 2026.
Do we have a motion to approve the pre-agenda consent administrative matters?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Vice Chair Nieder. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They are approved. Following down our list, the announcement of vacancies occurring on boards and commissions. I'll turn it back over to the manager to go over those right fast.
Thank you. The following are vacancies that we have on our boards and commissions, and if anyone is interested in learning more about these boards or commissions, we do have a quick summary on our website as well as an application on our website, or you may contact our clerk to the board to get more information. We have 6 appointments available on the Adult Care Home Advisory Committee, 1 appointment on the Animal Grievance Committee, 3 appointments available on the Centralina Aging Advisory Committee, Region F, 1 appointment on the Lake Norman Marine Commission, 1 appointment on the Mooresville Board of Adjustment, which is an ETJ member, 6 appointments on the Nursing Home Advisory Committee, and 1 alternate appointment on the Troutman Board of the Troutman Planning Board, which is also an ETJ member. Again, anyone that's interested in serving on any of these boards and commissions, we ask that you fill out an application and submit that to our clerk to the board.
Brings us down to the appointments to boards and commissions, and I'll turn it back over to the manager because I think we have one for the Iredell County Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Yes, we do. We announced this at a previous meeting, and we have 1 appointment available on the Iredell County Board of Adjustment. Mr. Bob Dellinger has resigned his position, and we did announce that vacancy. We received 3 applications that's listed in your packet, and that's Jason Fobbs, Lisa Qualls, and William Walker. And then late this afternoon, a little bit after 4 o'clock, we received another application that is not in your packet. We actually received it after our pre-agenda started, so, and I do have it here on the dais. This was Rhonda Wall. So those are the applications, and I apologize. This came in after our pre-agenda started, so we were not able to make copies for everyone, but I did want to mention that we received that one, even though it was late. So again, we have in your packet the 3 applications of the members that we had before when we did our agenda. And you can see actually in the back, we have a map that kind of shows geographically the area that they are representing, and it shows the area from the member that is stepping down and has resigned.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the Zoning Board of Adjustment?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to appoint William Walker to the Iredell County Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Motion by Commissioner Stroud. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Walker is approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Board of Adjustment.
also publicly thank Mr. Dellinger for many years of service to that board.
So we appreciate all those who apply and to explore
All
the
those
others.
apply and those that serve, especially.
Right.
And as Beth usually does, I'll remind people when they apply for boards, to put multiple boards of interest, and if you're not sure, the website, or get in touch with John. Because a lot of people are interested and have skill sets, they could serve on more than one if they didn't get appointed to something.
Yep, exactly.
Anyone having unfinished business at the 6 o'clock hour? Public comment period. We do have 2 people signed up. Jack, you still want to speak, right? Okay, I'll read the rules here. The board conducts a public comment period at its second regular meeting of each month. The purpose of the public comment period is to allow citizens to speak on matters related to county government. Each speaker that has signed up is allotted to 3 minutes and will be called to the podium by the chair in the order the names appear on the sign-up sheet. Please state your name and address before beginning your comments. Comments are to be directed to the board as a whole. Responses by the board are at their discretion. But the public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period, but rather a time for the board to hear from the public and take such matters raised under advisement. Citizens will be expected to be civil in their language and presentation and not engage in slander or name-calling. Citizens should not discuss any of the matters which are of closed session. Matters including but not limited to matters regarding personnel or matters which are made confidential by law. Speakers who have prepared written remarks or supporting documents are encouraged to leave a copy of such remarks and documents with the clerk to the board. And I will open up the public comment period. And Jack Binion.
My name is Jack Benyon, and I live at 263 Beaten Path Road in Mooresville. Thank you for letting me speak again, and I promise it's not about STRs. I recently heard that the Iredell Statesville School District is cutting back on funds, such things as travel expenses. So this would include drivers for not only extracurricular activities, but traveling back and forth to the schools as well. Along with cutting drivers, the board has cut back on buses. Well, I guess that makes sense. With no drivers, you can't put the buses out on the road without the drivers. So they're saving dollars on salaries, fuel costs, and maintenance. The buses are also being put back onto the interstates in order to quicken the routes, cutting down on mainly using the back roads. I would assume, again, cutting the fuel costs. The worst thing I heard was that the buses that are traveling are overloaded, with children sitting on other children's laps and with no seat belts. Overloading, no seat belts on the interstates sounds like a serious accident waiting to happen. I would think the possibility of future lawsuits would far outweigh the dollars being saved on the salaries, fuel costs, and maintenance, as I spoke of earlier. I realize the school board is their own entity, and I personally do not have a child riding on these buses. But if what I heard is true, I'm begging you all, for the families and parents of the children that are riding on those buses, to do something about this issue for the safety of those children. Thank you.
Frank Johnson signed up, but I think he's already left. Anybody else here would like to speak on any matter? Hearing none and seeing none, I will close the public comment period. And we will start commissioner updates over with Commissioner Brown. Do you have anything, sir?
No, really, I just appreciate everybody that went out and voted. We had a low turnout, so I would hope it'll be better in November. But, we keep losing freedom every year. And the one freedom we still have is getting out and voting. So I thank everybody that went out and did vote.
Commissioner Stroud, you got anything?
I kind of echo the same thing as Commissioner Brown on that aspect. As a soldier that carried the torch to give folks that right. Very disheartening to see such a low turnout in any election. It's your voice. Some folks don't think it's heard. It's heard. So, want to appreciate everybody that came out and the voice was spoken. Real happy to see Mayor Hendricks here with us. I appreciate you coming, Mr. Mayor. And other than that, happy St. Patrick's Day. You're not wearing any green.
Yes, I am. I am.
Vice Chair.
Nothing as far as meetings. It's been a visits to schools and reading and community involvement, and just reflecting back at our young ladies this afternoon that were here. It inspires me to see our young folks still have a heart and energy for our community. I still believe in our future generations. There's still a lot of positivity, and we have the opportunity here in Iredell County, in our municipalities, to be leaders in positive attitudes and involvement in our community. So with that, I'll pass it to Commissioner Howe.
Just wanted to ask Lisa, you don't need to answer us now, but if you can, I don't know if you know or can ask the other law firms, are any other states, are you familiar with any legislation that they have tried to help bolster the enforcement rules for counties and municipalities that we could ask our legislators specifically to look at? I'm not looking for a response now. I'm just asking you if you can identify anything that we could specifically advocate for. And I also wanted to, I watched the school board meeting last night. I wanted us to think a little bit. I know our next meeting is dedicated on the 30th for our retreat, mostly fire and emergency services. But I'd like for us to think about and consider if there are ways we could maybe try to finish that high school, the athletic stuff. I know we have a lot on our plate. We have an uncertain, unfunded path downward from federal and state governments, it seems like. But I'd like for us to really look at that and consider being able to complete that school if we can make it happen and still do the other things that we're trying to accomplish to alleviate jail populations and things at the courthouse and other things the county needs to operate and run on. We appreciate our emergency services personnel and staffing that had to deal with some of these storms and different things they deal with on a regular basis. And so I appreciate staff and what they do for our retreat preparations, and John, for our clerk, he takes care of all of us very well. But congratulations on everyone that ran, whether you won or lost on the election. I've done both. You offer your services. Brad, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 40 years, Brad, of service between county, military, and elected office?
Be about 45.
45. So he's put his time in, and he may be the most blessed out of all of us, because no matter what we do, we're making someone unhappy every day. And decency and rhetoric we see out here is pretty bad. Our families take a hit also. But I wanted to say that I've been there and done, I've won and lost before I won. And sometimes the good Lord will open a door or close a door that's really a blessing more than a curse. So I appreciate what all you do. It's an honor to work with you, because you do have the citizens at mind, and appreciate that. And hope everybody has a blessed week.
I'm probably not going to be so nice about things when it comes down to this past election, because it was a lot of dirty stuff that was played. Past elected officials, present elected officials, they took shot at me, they took shot at Commissioner Stroud, even noted stuff on a mailer that these people funneled through to even got into the point of things that happened before we were even sworn in by far, noted on the mailer. So Politics, they say, is dirty, but no, the people that play the politics like they did, they're the ones that are dirty. So I'll leave it at that. So anybody have any new business? County Manager's report.
Not much to report. Commissioner Houck just mentioned that we do have a one-day workshop that we will be having with the fire departments to talk about the fire funding, and that will be on the 30th. It will be here in this room at Cooperative Extension, starting at 9 o'clock, and we'll go from 9 to around 5. So the first part of the day, the morning part, each one of the fire departments will have an opportunity to talk about their budget requests, so you can hear what they're requesting. And then the second part of the day, we'll be working with the board, looking at the available funding that we have and talking about, if you'll remember, we talked about all the different options and scenarios with a fire funding model. If we could do that, what it would look like. And I will say preliminarily, and I know that Caroline and Rodney have already looked at a lot of the budget requests. They're heavy, and there's not enough funding in that fund to cover all of the requests. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up. These requests are pretty hefty.
But yet the chiefs or whoever they designate from each department has been invited to speak.
Correct.
To explain their.
Yes, yes, and you can certainly ask questions regarding those requests. Yes, we will give you packets. We will give you packets like we always do for all of our workshops that will have all of their budget requests in that packet, so you'll have plenty of time to review it before the 30th.
Okay.
What we sent them was a template for them to fill in their requests, so you're comparing apples to apples. We sent them the format, we sent them the forms, and they had to fill in that budget request form. So that way you'll be comparing apples to apples with each department. Yes, sorry. Yes.
We did have a closed session this afternoon involving attorney-client in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3 with nothing to report. Brings us down to the end of tonight's meeting, and I'll ask, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Brown. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.